Established titles scam. What's this?
If you've watched a video from Graham Stephan, Andre Jix, Ordinary Gamers, or The Quartering in the past year, you've probably seen a sponsorship from the company Established Titles. Now, despite glowing reviews from some of YouTube's largest and most trusted creators, this company is a complete scam. Now, I do...
Well, that sucks.
I have to say that I believe most of these creators don't realize that it's a scam, with the exception of one who we'll talk about in a minute.
Okay.
But that does not get these guys off the hook, and they need to do more research on a sponsorship before accepting the $20K plus a month these guys are making from doing deals with this scam company. Now, before I break down how this company is a scam, I'm going to let these creators in a montage of clips explain what the company wants you to believe they are doing.
Okay.
Well, thanks to our sponsor, Established Titles. They're a project based on the historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lords or ladies in English. And that means, as of today, that's right, I'm officially a lord.
Better than that is to give those fun, tangible...
Oh, yeah, I heard about this. Basically, we had a conversation about this, and we established that it sounded stupid enough that we pretty much all assumed it was bullshit. Yeah. Yeah, we assumed this was bullshit. Like, we didn't know. Like, I wasn't sure about it. But it's like, yeah, it's probably bullshit.
Assets as gifts for the upcoming holidays. And thanks to today's sponsor, Established Titles, you can do exactly that and become a lord or lady.
Shout out to this video's sponsor, Established Titles. Established Titles is a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred...
Bro, I love Quartering's titles. They're so good. Marvel openly admits they hate you in shocking interview. No wonder Black Panther 2 flopped. Bro, the titles are so good. Oh my God.
To as lairds or lords and ladies in English.
Yeah.
They allow people to buy as little as 1 square foot of dedicated land so they can call themselves a lord or a lady officially. In return, they commit to plant a tree with every order and protect the beautiful, pristine woodlands of Scotland.
Today's video is brought to you by our friends over at Established Titles. Do you want to help global reforestation efforts? Do you want to help preserve the natural woodlands of Scotland? Well, here's a nice last-minute gift to absolutely do that right for you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds or lords and ladies in English. This entire thing gives you 1 square foot of dedicated land with a unique plot number. Kind of like an NFT, except it exists in reality.
Now, unfortunately, everything said there, from the buying of land to being given a lord title and even the planting of trees, is a complete lie. After researching this company, I uncovered a web of shell companies devised to hide who actually operates this scam, and what I will show you in this video will truly shock you. So with that being said, let's break this scam apart piece by piece.
Fake land title.
The first issue is the most fundamental, and that is the fact that when you buy one of their 1 square foot plots of land in Scotland, you aren't actually buying any land at all. What they are essentially selling you is a gag gift known as a souvenir plot. Under the Scotland Land Registration Act of 2012, it's not allowed for these small plots of land to be legally sold. The law states, Land Registration Scotland Act of 2012, Section 22, in subsection 1b, souvenir plot means a plot of land which is of inconsiderable size and of no practice utility, and is neither a registered plot nor a plot the ownership of which has at any time separately been constituted or transferred by a document recorded to the Registrar of Sassenach. The seller will unlikely sell a souvenir plot of both considerable size or practical utility and a registered plot. The disposition will be unable to be registered in the land registrar. This means that the buyer cannot acquire a real right of ownership in Scots law. Therefore, it is impossible for buyers of the sale to become owners of a souvenir plot. No other form of ownership is recognized by the real right of ownership, as discussed above, owing to Scots property laws, Romans laws of influence. So basically, the company that owns Established Titles, and I'll get into who they are in a minute.
So it's like they're selling real estate basically on the moon. Okay, why is this even a law? I have no idea. Yeah, it's a land NFT. Basically, yes.
bought up a bunch of large parcels of land and is selling off phony titles to small portions of it. If you were to go to Scotland and try and claim your land, or try and do anything with it really, you would be laughed at because you don't actually own anything.
Yeah.
Established Titles is still the landowner, and they give you a worthless piece of paper telling you that you own land when under the laws of Scotland, you clearly do not.
Okay.
Another big selling point they have is that if you buy a piece of land in Scotland, the custom is that you now become a lord or lady and can add that official title to your name.
That is just like, okay, so this is not true. So like my dad, apparently, like I forgot even how this happened, but there was like some organization that gave my dad the title of Reverend Doctor. So my dad is technically a Reverend Doctor. I don't really know how this happened. I don't think it was the Freemasons. It wasn't the Illuminati or something like that. I have no idea. So there are plenty of dumb fucking titles that people use that exist for no reason.
This couldn't be any farther from the truth. Now, this old wives' tale has been around for a long time, and the Court of the Lord Lion, which is the highest court in Scotland in regard to giving out titles, said this to clear up the situation. Ownership of a souvenir plot of land does not bring with it the right to any description such as laird, lord, or lady. The words lord and lady appear to those on whom a peerage has been confirmed and do not relate to the ownership of land. Ownership of a souvenir plot of land is not sufficient to bring a person otherwise ineligible within the jurisdiction of the Lord Lion for seeking a coat of arms.
So even if you own the land, you're not a lord, because that would mean basically anybody who owns a house in Scotland would be a lord. Yeah, that makes sense, sure.
Right there from the highest court in Scotland, they said flat out that ownership of land does not bestow a title of lord or lady to you. So Established Titles is 2 strikes down, and before we put the final nail in the coffin, I think it's safe to say that they are a scam. They don't actually sell you any land, and they have no right to bestow a title of lord or lady to you. Now, the final issue I want to bring up is the fact that they say that they plant trees with every purchase, and that by buying one of their plots of land, you are saving the woodlands by buying it and preventing its use for other means.
Yeah,
now,
I feel like that's a relatively decent sell. Like, if this was true, which, I mean, we're only 5 minutes into the video, and we're only halfway done with the video, so it's probably not true, but so far into it, yeah, of course that would be kind of good. Sure, absolutely. Comes, no trees actually planted. Yeah, I don't know.
Now, Established Titles does not plant any trees, despite what their YouTube sponsors tell you. The only thing Established Titles does is donate money to an actual tree planting company called One Tree Planted. On top of that, they have never provided any...
So they just donate the money to somebody else. So they basically outsource the planting of trees. Okay.
Evidence that they are actually donating money to back up their claims. So basically, you have to take the company's word that they are really donating money to plant trees. On top of that, if you really wanted to plant trees, you could save yourself some money by not buying a scam plot of land and just give your money directly to One Tree Planted.
Yeah.
Finally, the land that they own is already part of a protected land plot away from any major cities, so by giving them money, you are not actually helping the environment in any way, you are just lining the pockets of these scammers. Now,
assuming that they do not donate the money, which is an important context, there is a chance they could donate the money, but, I mean, if they're already scamming in multiple other ways, I feel like it is more than likely that is not the case.
Point, I think I have made it very clear that this company is a scam, and hopefully most of these big creators will cease partnerships with this company. Some of these creators do seem to know that the company is at the very least fishy. Spencer Cornelia, former Grift Slayer, has been responding to people leaving comments on his videos the past few days about the company being a scam, and Spencer's response is basically he thinks it's okay if it's a scam because it's harmless and they're planting trees with your money. So according
it's harmless, they're planting trees in your money. I think that, like, in the context of, like, are these scams really, really bad? I don't think they are really, really bad, but they're not good. You know, this is a shade of gray. It's not like he's selling people toothpaste that has cyanide in it. He's not scamming them outright. But yeah, it's clearly something that I feel like after everybody finds out about this information, they'll look into it and be like, okay, yeah, well, we don't want to have the sponsor anymore. Why would anybody have the sponsor after this? no reason to.
According to Spencer's logic, if I were to steal something from his house, pawn it off, and then use some of the money to plant some trees, he would be okay with it because ultimately I did something good. So with all that being said, I think it's fairly clear this is a scam company, but let's go into just who actually owns and operates this company, and it's a whole web of different companies that's involved with this, so it's pretty crazy.
It's different.
So if you actually...
Well, the thing is, like, I don't think that a lot of the content creators, like, I feel like it is unrealistic for somebody to have full knowledge of, like, every single type of, you know, law in the entire world. I think that it's bad whenever something like this comes up and people find out about it. I wouldn't necessarily take this as a judgment against the people, because they probably didn't know about it. They probably saw other people using it and they were like, oh, this seems fine to me. It doesn't seem like a problem, because they're not well versed in Scottish law. I think that you can do research, but the problem is that you don't even know where to look. Like, you can always say that, oh yeah, you can do research about this or something like that. It is very hard to really find all of this stuff out.
Come to their website, Established Titles. This is it right here. And one thing I have to mention right at the top, right now they have a Black Friday sale, and they always seem to have a timer. You can come back any time of day, anytime, and there's always a countdown clock of 1 hour, so you got to get your deal right away.
You have to do it.
And that's a very scammy thing that a lot of these scam companies do, a timer that basically never runs out. You can come back later, it restarts. But if you go down to the bottom of the page, you go to the About Us section of Established Titles, and you'll see that it has this picture of this lady, and basically it says that this lady, Katarina Yip, created Established Titles after visiting the Scotland countryside. She fell in love. Okay. She wanted to start her company. Great. That's all fantastic.
That's nice.
So we can actually look this lady up. I found her on LinkedIn. This is her
President
page.
Fail Ventures. I mean, this is already not very reassuring. I mean, I would rename that immediately. Yeah. Right
here. And if you go to her LinkedIn page, you can see that she's based out of Hong Kong, which is very interesting. Not in Scotland or anywhere near it. But you can see that she's actually involved. She's currently employed by 3 different companies. The first is called Failed Ventures, where she is the co-founder and president. And she's also a board member of Galton Voicier, I think that's how you say it, and a board member of Trifecta Retail Ventures. So let's take a closer look at these 3 companies, and it's going to be really interesting what we find. So if we go over to Fail Ventures, this is their actual page, and it says "Come Fail Together," which I think is quite funny. That's the name of the company that is running.
Like, how is this like? Is this like a big meme? Like, I don't understand. It's like, what is this? Come fail to? This is like, is this like a translation error because it was like from Hong Kong, so they probably don't speak English over there? Like, what the fuck is this?
This scam company, Established Titles. It's Fail Ventures, Come Fail Together. So basically what this is, it's a venture capital firm, someone who we'll get into who it is in just a minute, but they pump a bunch of money into this company, and this company tries to set up a bunch of these fairly shady, if I would say somewhat scammy companies online. They're all internet, e-based commerce websites trying to make a bunch of money, and you can see that they have all of the failed companies. They've had like 70 failed companies, and eventually they have 1 or 2 companies that are successes and make a bunch of money. Yeah. And these are their 4 successful companies. They have Deal Dash, which we'll talk about in just a minute, Galton Voicier, which is the other company that this lady Katarina works at, which we'll get into, Kamakito Knives, and Established Titles. Okay. So Fail Ventures is the company that owns Established Titles. They also own Kamikoto Knives. Now, if you don't know about Kamikoto Knives, they're another company that is heavily promoted on YouTube. I believe I just saw a sponsorship post from them on the quartering. Just the other day, I think he did that as well.
Huge shout out to this video's sponsor, Kamikoto. That's right, Kamikoto makes Japanese steel kitchen knives using traditional techniques from Japan.
So they're another big company.
I don't know why, like, for me, if I saw a knife and it could cut a steak, then I feel like that's the end of the knife search. Like, I don't think about what knife I'm going to use after that. Like, I'm just kind of done at that point. Like, I don't need it to be a Japanese knife that can cut a steak really fast. I mean, you just cut the steak. It'll work itself out. It's okay.
That's promoted. They're also run by the same company that owns and operates Established Titles. Now, from there, if you actually look at Failed Ventures, we'll go to their About Us section, and you can see these people at the top. These two people you need to be aware of. They're at all these companies. There's William Wolfram, he's the CEO, co-founder, and Katarina Yip, who is the president, co-founder. So keep in mind, those are the two people. So from there, from Failed Ventures, they're the ones that own Established. Let's go to the next company. Now, the next company is Galton Voicier. This is their LinkedIn page. It says they are a manufacturing company located in Hong Kong. This is their actual website right here. If you go down to their all-star team page and look at their people at the board, you can see William Wolfram and Katarina Yip again at this company as well.
The usual
and this company
suspects.
seems to be the manufacturing arm of all of these different products they create, as far as the knives, as far as getting sponsorships for established titles. That's what this company seems to do. Now, both of these companies are based out of Hong Kong, so China basically, and I think it's very interesting that these companies are based out of a country that has very lax business laws. You can get away.
I wonder why. That's what a coincidence that happened. Wow.
With a lot more somewhat shady type business practices in Hong Kong and China as opposed to most Western countries. Now, what's really interesting is if you look at the third company, which is Trifecta Retail Ventures, they are based out of they have an office in Hong Kong, but they're based out of primarily southern Finland. So they're from Finland, and this company is actually owned by the Wolfram guy that we saw on the other page. So all three of these companies were founded by William Wolfram, and William Wolfram is a Finnish man who I believe he has a long history of creating some of these, I would say, shady companies. He dropped out of school and at 16 created the website Deal Dash.
All right.
So this was his first company that actually made him a ton of money.
There you go.
And then he has since created these other companies in Hong Kong that now produce these other shady type companies online. Now, Deal Dash, if you're not familiar with this, I won't go too detailed into it. Deal Dash is basically like an eBay ripoff type site, but what they have is massively discounted price.
They have the counting down timers. I see where we're going here. Yep, I see. I'm following where, where this is going to happen. King of the Scammers. Yeah, I'm impressed. The guy's 16, set up his website, started making some money. Now he's doing some more of them. How about that? Yeah, at 16, I feel like my websites, whenever I made websites at 16, were not this good. Okay, like, yeah, this is pretty good.
On their products. Some products, you can get like a barbecue that's normally like $200 and it's currently going for $1, right? Now, how it works is people bid on these items and it slowly goes up over time. Now, aside from eBay, how eBay works is the top bidder has to pay for the product. On Deal Dash, everyone who posts a bid, you have to pay for all of your bids. Now, it does say that in the small print, but most people don't realize that. So people will put all these bids in for like $1, $1.50, $2, and what they don't realize is at the end, even if they don't win the item, they have to pay all of the bids they made. So this company is incredibly shady, and they make a ton of money by, convincing...
That's such a good idea. That's so good. Bro, I love this guy. This guy's a genius. Yeah, it's like you bid on the item, but you don't get your money back. That's perfect. How is this legal? It's probably not.
People who don't read the fine print, and they have to end up spending a bunch of money. So what ended up happening was there was actually a lawsuit against Deal Dash because some of these customers, they were having very deceptive marketing. We're saying like this lady, they have a bunch of ads where this lady is like, oh, I won this thing for $2. But what they don't tell you is she actually spent like $100 in bids and actually paid more than the manufacturer retail price of the product because she had to bid so much.
That's
so
clever.
this
I
website
like
has
that.
been sued
This is a
before.
smart guy.
There's a bunch of scammy stuff going on here. And one thing that's really interesting is if you actually go back to Failed Ventures and you look at a lot of these failed products, a lot of these failed products, they were actually selling on Deal Dash. This was part of the lawsuit that Deal Dash was involved in. That Deal Dash was pretending that a lot of these products were actually high-end name brands, but they were actually products
by
that
they're creating the demand for them by having them ticking down in the price tag. Oh, that's a good one. I like this. Is good. I am impressed. This puts me in such a good mood. Wow.
Created by the creator of Deal Dash, and they were just putting them on their site.
That's a good idea.
Deal Dash didn't actually have to pay pretty much anything for these products because they were creating the products. So this guy, Wolfram, has a history of these incredibly, I'll say, shady companies that he operates. And now he has moved pretty much all of his businesses over to Hong Kong, which is really interesting because he is from Finland. So why would he do that? Now, like I said, my opinion is because Hong Kong and Chinese laws are a lot more lax as opposed to the laws in, Finland or most Western countries. So I just think that's incredibly shady. Now, one thing I have to mention is all of these websites, whether you go to Established Titles or any of the companies that own or work with Established Titles, there is no mention of them ever having an office anywhere in Scotland or the UK. They are firmly based out of Hong Kong. They have no connection whatsoever to Scotland, and they don't seem to have any offices there. Now, if you actually go to Established Titles, they do have an address for in Scotland, and that address just leads to one of the plots of land that they have bought. So they do own a bunch of land in Scotland, but they don't appear to have any offices there. So from what I've
go to the office, it's a tree. Okay, all right, well, there you go. We're at a dead end now. Problem solved.
Earlier in this video, and what I've shown about who actually owns and operates this company, it's run by William Rolfan, who has a history of making Deal Dash and these other type shady companies.
Yeah.
I don't know why anyone would want to do business with Established Titles. I really see no reason why we want to do that. They're not a legitimate company. They're basically just taking your money, and you're hoping to tell the truth, and they are actually donating some money to plant trees, because I can't find any evidence on their website that they are actually planting any trees. But I'd love to hear your opinion below. What do you think about this? Do you think these creators are fine for promoting, for sponsoring this company, or do you think they should all stop? Leave your comment below. One thing I want to add at the end, there will be a list below, a pin list of people who have been sponsored by this company. If you know someone else who is also sponsored by it, let me know and I'll add them to the list as well.
Okay, well, there we go. I'm glad I watched this. I mean, wow, what a good scammer. That's impressive. And the best part about it is, like, he's going to do another one. Like, yeah, we got him on this one. It's like, oops, well, we'll go for it again. We'll try another one. It's okay, right? They're sponsored. Well, there's a lot of people that take the sponsorship. I mean, they're paying probably a good amount of money. The ideas seem to be harmless and funny. And people just assume that it was okay, and that's what happens. And then as soon as a couple people assume that it's okay, other people look into it and they think to themselves, well, you know what? I see everybody else doing it. It's probably fine, or they wouldn't be doing it too. And before you know it, everybody's using it, and that's just what happens. It's not really that big of a deal. I think honestly, it's like if I was one of these guys that was using the thing, I would just be like, yo, my bad, sorry, I should have known, but I didn't, and just stop using it. I feel like that's the smart thing to do. Yeah. Was still Philip DeFranco's on the list? Well, I mean, there's a lot of people. Like, the truth is that, like, any time that somebody is investigating an advertiser, people probably do not do this due level of diligence. It doesn't happen. Even major companies don't do this due diligence. Like Fortune 500 companies don't do this. You can't expect YouTube to do this. It's just not going to happen. And you can expect it. It's just you're going to be wrong. So either way, it's just good thing that it's not worse. And I'm glad this guy came out with the video about it because, as I said, we talked about this with OTK. Somebody brought it up, and they're like, yeah, what do you guys think about this? I'm like, it sounds like bullshit. And we didn't go with it. So, yeah. Fortune 500 companies would for sure? Yeah. You mean, they would do the diligence? No, they haven't. There's been many of these, like, weird, like, activist groups that have finessed these big companies out of a lot of money. Yeah, I mean, look at FTX. Yeah, I think that's a really great example. Like, look at that. So, like, this happens all the time. Nobody is going to realistically be able to research every single thing and person they do business with. This is just simply not the case. At a certain point, you have to take people at their word, and this is just what happens. Let's see here. Established Titles landed the equivalent of a star registries. Yeah, it's just bullshit. Heard to sponsor for the 5th time. I was just about to buy one because I thought it was a cool idea. And then YouTube recommended me this. Glad I didn't end up buying it. Well, the good thing at least is that a lot of people, like, this is my best advice for these guys, is that a lot of people who probably bought stuff from Established Titles probably bought it within the last 30 days. And you can probably get your bank to refund the transaction. The odds are, if you did it with a credit card, the chances are much higher, but there is a very good probability, like I mean, yes, obviously it was dumb that people got bought into this. Like, I probably would have maybe done this. I don't know. I didn't do it, though. So, you know, maybe I'll get fucked with the next one. And at the end of the day, just try to fucking do better diligence with this kind of stuff. And also, if you did spend money on this, try to get it back. That's my best advice. What if my bank is locked, bro? Oh, well, then I'll lend you some money. It's okay. Thank you. I'm Scottish, been constantly raising and upset. My country's land's being used for Chinese-based scam. Established titles has caused quite a bit of stir on Scottish Twitter. I really hope this kicks off and causes enough of a cluster. People start rejecting these sponsorships. Yeah, I don't see anybody using established titles anymore after this video. It seems extremely unlikely to me, which is a good thing. I think that's a very good thing. And so hopefully that will happen. I mean, we can't be certain, but I very much hope so.